Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing today? Boom, bum, bum. Can you guys guess what movie I was watching yesterday? Come with me and you'll see a world of pure imagination. So I was watching Shaun of the Dead yesterday, and I was having some fun drawing the characters in the movie. So it was really fun. Actually, I love having movie nights like that. Lately, I've been able to have these accompanied with Drycam, which is our moderator here for the most part, from Canada. We normally just set a movie and we just draw throughout the movie. Now, I might open that up to other people if you guys are more than happy to actually come do that. But that will have to come with some organization later on, right? So we'll have to figure out how to do that in a way that's controlled and moderated so that, things don't get out of hand or whatever. But hi, how is everybody doing today? Let me put my charger on. My charger is officially charging. And let's talk about what we talked about yesterday. That way we have a little recap and then we can start our videos off like that. So our recap from yesterday. Yesterday we talked a little bit about an art skills test that you could do in order to be able to know where you are as a designer, as an artist. If you don't know what to improve on, maybe revisiting some of these steps is going to help you improve because you will actually notice where you are lacking. So step one was to create basic shapes and know how to layer them and put them next to each other. Step two is how to take these basic shapes and make them into three-dimensional shapes. With a circle, it's drawing circles inside of a circle. Right? With a box, it's drawing boxes with interlacing boxes and connecting the edges. With pyramids, you draw a triangle, choose one of the points, and then you draw other triangles to match those triangles. And that's how you do these three-dimensional shapes. And you start learning how to draw something from the bottom, from the top, stuff like that. After that, you have step three, which is more dimensional drawing. Understanding how to subdivide your item into different shapes. How to turn a basic face around in different perspectives. And slowly adding detail and see how far you can take it before you go shit, I don't really understand this. Most people will fall short when it comes down to actually drawing the jaw in different positions. But the jaw is very easy because it's literally a circle. If you find it with a circle inside of a circle, where is it? Like that there. Then it's easier to find something going around your face by doing that. So learning these little techniques and it's not style because they're not based for style. These little techniques help you out a lot, especially when it comes down to drawing things that are just around, like an eye. Right? If you want to draw an actual eye for what it is, an eye is a round shape, a spherical shape with eyelids, which are just kind of like the rest of the thing. And then they have eyelashes and stuff like that coming out. But in its core, it's a sphere that has hemispheres connecting from 2 points. So if you think about it like that, your eyes are always going to be nice and round and perfect. You won't even have to think about it twice. You won't even have to question it. So learn how to draw things like this because Literally, all it takes is learning how to draw a hemisphere. So that is what we learned yesterday. We still haven't decided what we're going to draw today. So if you guys want to help me choose what we should draw today, that'd be awesome. So I get to go to Comic-Con. And then I'm going to be going as Mario from Mario Brothers. But I'm going to be in a towel, some sandals, yeah. Have my Mario Brothers socks to go with my sandals. I already have the mustache. Have my tattoos. And I'm going to pretend to be all cool and sexy and strong. Ah. I'm going to do my best impersonation of a strong, sexy dude. But yeah, I get to go to Comic-Con, so I get to go like buy little collectibles and stuff. It's really cool. And I go get to take pictures. The only thing that I love about cosplaying is that like people come up to you and ask you for pictures. Like that's literally one of the biggest reasons that I just love dressing up like something. It's like the one time of the year that I get attention. And it's just silly to think about it like that, but you know, that's just how it feels. Boo, let's see what my other arm be. I'm gonna be all sassy. Anyways, what should we learn today? Thanks so much. I always do something a little better after our streams. Aw, yay! Can you do a self-portrait? Ooh, I'll do a self-portrait on a Post-it while we decide on what we're going to be drawing today. How about that? So, I am a 40-year-old dude. 39. So, I'm Mexican. I am bald. I have big ears, and one ear has a scar. I have a relatively large nose for a person my body size. And I have big, bushy eyebrows. I hardly ever make the same facial expression, and I always have resting bitch face. Even though inside I'm like the happiest person in the world, apparently my outer persona does not really convey that to other people. Have a nice big mustache. I have scruffy hair all over because I don't get out and I don't shave. I have slightly heavy eye set, like eyelid heavy eyes, so my eyelids are a little bit heavier than other people's. I have pretty defined cheekbones. I have brown eyes. I don't have many wrinkles, but I'm getting there. Like I said, I'm bald, so I don't really have hair. And then I have big, nerdy, blocky glasses. I have the epaulets on my eyes, or on the side right there. And I have that's pretty much me. That's me. So just Join, so restart, please. Oh, yeah, yeah, we're gonna restart just because you logged out. See, people showing up to class late, even though I didn't set a time. So now I'm like the Devil Wears Prada lady. Like, you have to read my mind when I'm gonna go on. Oh. But yeah, that is me. That is Mr. Rajon. So, that's your teacher. Nice to meet you guys. Let's see. Hips and legs. Hips and legs, hips and legs. Okay. We did that not too long ago. We talked about that a little bit. But I think that's a good topic because that's something that I want to get better at right now. So let's talk about hips and bones. Hip bones, hip bones, hip bones and legs. Hip bones, hip bones, hip bones and legs. Hip bones and legs. That sounds like, I don't know, some like weird like Nickelodeon show where like the hip bones and the legs are two different things. Right? Like cat dog. So let's talk a little bit about hip bones and legs. How does this interaction actually happen? And how do we simplify this to the point where it becomes incredibly easy for anyone? Right? So the hip bones are the easiest body part to draw. Ooh. Oh, hold on. What happened here? Whoa, whole Cintiq setup just kind of like collapsed. Well, that was scary. My Cintiq almost tripped over. Alright, that'll hold for now. That's what I get for like getting all these swivel arm thingies. Anyways, the hip bones are probably the easiest bone or like the structure to draw, mostly because they can be simplified down to the point of a cylinder with the angles turned in a little bit, like the little circles, turn them in a little bit. And that is essentially your hip bones. That's it. Like, that's all you really need to do to draw your hips. Yay, you are a master of hip bones. From here, now you can draw your legs coming out in the right angle. Okay? Your hips are going to determine how wide your legs are, but they're always going to connect back to those 2 points. The top and the bottom, or just the roundness of your hip bones, is where that all that mass originates from. Okay? It doesn't have to. You literally cannot add more mass. You cannot have your leg connect anywhere other than the edge here, because otherwise you're connecting it to the wrong body part. So as long as you get used to connecting those points back to those little holes, now you can draw things like a rubber band. Whee! Like if you like your stuff all like loopy, if you like your stuff with more anatomy, learn anatomy so that you can actually learn how to draw your things properly the way you want, right? But at least you understand now that it connects to those 2 points. That is the biggest issue with most people that draw hips, right? They get so fixated on like all the extra anatomy that goes along with this. Like, oh, I want my leg muscles to have every muscle fiber in there. It's all the muscles, but they forget to literally connect this to the body where it's supposed to, which is the hip bone. So they connect it to the body in like different ways. They add different lumps, they have different muscles. They just start adding things that aren't there. And they end up with something that's very detailed, but it just looks weird sometimes. Okay? As opposed to just finding out that little tiny connection point by drawing a cylinder, and then all of a sudden you can draw your legs doing anything you want, but you know that they're going to connect right there. And you can add all your detail that you want to your foot in order to get your desired outcome, but at least you'll know that you're placing it in the right place. So the hip bones in themselves are easy. Now, if you start rotating the shape, so you're going to start off with your hip bones looking forward, right? Both of these are fainting forward. If you look to give you that little taper, the more you rotate this into a 3/4 view, one of them is going to be a little bit bigger than the other. And still a cylinder, but things start to overlap a little bit. As a profile, you end up with your hip bone looking a little bit more like this. Again, your legs come out of there. Right? Now, this is not an inclusion of your butt. Your butt goes on top of that because your butt is a muscle. Okay? So think of your booty as an additional muscle on top of your legs because that's what it is. So booty comes after. At this point, you're just mapping out the actual leg muscles and your leg bones and seeing where that ends up. So the hip bones in themselves are actually relatively easy. Now let's do some examples so you guys understand that I'm not just speaking out of my ass. So let's draw some hip bones and we'll draw, I don't know, a few different legs so you guys understand. Hip bones, where are you now? Let me draw some legs. I just wanna draw some legs too. I don't know what to rhyme. Pew, 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 pew. Connecting, even in overlaps, making sure that you're connecting back to those points gives you all those cool like poses that you guys are always wondering how to draw better and why are they so hard. You just got to draw through your shapes and you get all the positions you can possibly want from your hips. Right? So it doesn't have to be facing forward. You can draw things that are coming from behind as well. So understanding this basic shape is such a crucial part in learning how to draw hips, but it's not hard at all. So it's a matter of just understanding where it connects, right? So understanding how to move a cylinder should be relatively easy for just any average person, right? So if you're able to do that, just make sure that whenever you're drawing them, angle them a little bit more, just a little bit more. That way you get that curvature that you need. Do you guys wonder, like, normally if you do that, you get like this little hourglass shape, right? Boom, boom. Because your bone comes out from your hips. It comes out and then comes back in. So therefore it gives your leg this sort of shape. Now, if you didn't want to create this hourglass shape and you wanted more of a masculine shape rather than a feminine shape, then you would just angle down your hip bones. So instead of having your hip bones be more of like this, you would have them be more like this. so that the leg comes out a little bit flatter and it doesn't create that big of a curvature. So you do that for more masculine bodies, and then you do this for more feminine bodies. And this is generalizations, people. Don't get triggered. I always have to deal with that shit, so don't. All right, so let's see. Hip bones are easy, right? Hip bones make sense once people understand how to explain them to us easier. Now, how do they attach to the top of our body? So let's say that we have a rib cage, any shape for a rib cage. Let's draw this for a rib cage. We'll give it a midsection. That midsection from the front and the back is going to give me my spine and the front of my chest. So the front is going to be the front of my chest, which has that little hole, and it has my collarbone. The back of it is going to have the top of my spine, and it's going to have my spinal cord going down the back. The spine is the connecting point for both bones. This back is not hard to draw. Literally, it's just drawing a circle inside of a circle, right? The front is already mapped out because of that front circle. The back is already mapped out because of that back circle. So just extend it a little bit and draw your hip bones. When you're drawing your back section, you could easily do this. Draw your circle inside a circle, follow that circle around, and then come up with your spine. You could even make it wrapping around the hip if you want, like a balloon. So you can think about it like you have a stick with a balloon wrapped around it. And you could have decent bodies like that. Like that is a actual way that you could get bodies to look decent. Okay, so think about it in different ways. If you want different balloons, maybe you want a little balloon and you want big hips, like a big stick, right? Then you get a girl or a guy that has really big hips. And that is how you start building different character designs, right? Understanding the concept, making it make sense in some way. And then from there, if we take the whole stick and balloon aspect, we can start positioning these in a bunch of different ways and then seeing what comes out from them. Right? We start twisting things around, see what happens. And then you end up with really cool poses, right? Understanding these two shapes alone can give you that. Add in an extra one, which is the face, and then you end up with positions that look really dope. So understanding that each element has its own flow. Like if you only draw up until the rib cage, then you have your head and your rib cage to play with. So understanding how those connect is very important. They connect to the collarbone, right? So if you are drawing your heads, find your ear, and your ears connect to your collarbone. From there, you get to dictate how wide you want your neck, and then those edges connect to the edges of your collarbone. So if you want to understand this midsection, you got to understand that connection. You got to understand how your collarbone works on your neck. It's kind of like a little baseball diamond on top, and how that correlates to connecting your muscles to your neck. So it's ear, collarbone, and then you choose the width of your neck. So let's do it in steps. So if we are having our ears, we have our collarbone on our rib cage. So we're gonna go ear, ear, collarbone, collarbone, regardless of the jaw or whatever we draw, right? That's underneath. It's underneath the jaw. So ear, collarbone, ear, collarbone. Now, from there, I get to decide the next step. The next step is deciding how wide of my neck is going to be. So I can choose to make my neck standard and then just bring it down like a tube. And then these little sides are the remaining of the space between the collarbone. So these are going to be your back muscles that wrap around, but you do it after you decide how wide your neck is going to be. So if you want a thin neck, remember that your collarbone connects. Taper this in from your ears so it's from the right place. Taper it in, bring those lines in tapered as well, and you end up with a skinny neck. There's also a tube. So essentially what you're drawing is this. You're drawing your head, you're drawing a tube that goes down, and you're drawing the connecting points from your ear down to your collarbone to create those muscles in the front. That's essentially what you're doing. But you're combining all those things together into one. If you want to draw a character like the Hulk, it has a gigantic neck. You have your collarbone, and you're going to grab your neck from the bottom of your ears down to your collarbone. The width of your neck then comes next. We're going to make it super wide. And then this rest of that connection point is going to be your back muscles into like what I could only imagine would be massive shoulders. But that is how you start drawing muscles for the neck. So that is the connection point from the neck to the head. And you can use that by now grabbing your collarbone, twisting your head around, finding your ears, and then finding your ears on both sides by using your circle inside of a circle technique. Okay? So now you have both neck, both ears, collarbone. Boom, boom. Then I choose the width of my neck that has to be within that collarbone, and then it connects to the edges. Boom. Let's try one more. Let's say I want my collarbone to be doing this. I don't know. I don't know what that would look like when it comes down to the head. So let's see if we can connect it. Let's find some ears. Collarbone. Draw my jaw. Collarbone to the bottom of my ear. Collarbone to the bottom of my ear. Okay, cool. So now I have the front of my neck. Now I get to choose the width of my neck. That has to be a tube that fits within those 2 points of my collarbone. So it can come down to there, and then the back muscles connect there. Cool. My shoulders would fill out, and the back muscles would fill out the rest of that space. And then you end up with something relatively interesting in perspective. So thinking about your shapes as individual components is going to help you just be better at posing, better at understanding where they connect, but understanding where they move and where they connect and how they like string together is what makes it a cohesive little body shape. So if you're going to think about the whole body system in general, this is how I do it. You guys probably have heard a couple different ways of doing so, but this is what I think, and this is the process that I take whenever I'm drawing characters. I normally start my bodies with a beanbag. The whole core of my body is normally a beanbag because it's an easily manipulatable shape, right? And it has a lot of depth to it. So I go in with some visual subdivisions for the most part, just to make sure that I have a lot of places to draw in. Then from there, I use the natural crevices of the beanbag to create my rib cage. Then from there, I create my hip bones by creating a cylinder or underwear on my character underneath. If I need to draw through my shape to get to my actual shape, I do it. So now I have my hip bones and I have my rib cage incredibly quick. I already know where my legs can come from. So my legs will not be a secret. Well, my legs will not be like, I don't have to question where my legs come from. I know my legs are going to come from there. And they can go in any direction that I feel like. Okay? It can be something like that. It could be a ballerina. It could be, I don't know, a sumo wrestler. It could be anything that I feel like drawing at that point. Okay? Because I know where the legs come from, so now I don't have to guess. Now I just get to design. So the same thing happens with anything that's looking back into perspective. I know that it's supposed to come in and connect there. So I can now draw my cylinders into perspective, and I know that they just have to connect back there. Now we go up to the front of the body. Yeah, it could be like any pose you want, really. Like I do not overestimate the ability of just knowing where things connect. Like you can do any pose you want once you understand that. It's not even that complicated, really. Like I said, the hip bones are just cylinders. And knowing where these connect and how they connect at slightly angles is something that took me years to learn. But it can be a little elephant. It could be an anatomically correct foot. Like, it doesn't matter what comes out of those holes as long as you understand how it comes out, and then it's going to look right. So you take out a lot, like a ton of the guesswork when you understand that basic concept. Let's move on to the arms. The arms have a very similar concept, only it's from the collarbone instead of the actual hip bones. So imagine that from your collarbone, you're drawing another cylinder that connects to the edges of your ribcage. The only thing is, this collarbone has two positions, right? So it has its position, which is nice and flat, when your arms are either standing completely out right? Or when they're down. That is this basic shape. But it changes a little bit when your arms get folded up. It becomes into a macaroni noodle. This bends into a macaroni noodle because your collarbone has two positions. Your collarbone has its downward position, which is your resting state, and that's at this angle. And then it has your I'm going to lift my arms up state, which moves your collarbone up, therefore moves your shoulders in, and it creates crevices. It also lifts your whole arm up, so your arms point up at that point. So I like to think about it like the little noodle shape, but with a little bit of flexibility to it. So the next step would be to draw like an upper body. Let's draw an upper body. So I start with the midline from the beanbag. That gives me my little ribbit right here. This little ribbit to the edges of my hip bones is going to be, guess what? Abs. Haha, so easy. It's like it's a puzzle and everything falls into place when you find out where it goes. Ooh. Who would have known? We go up the middle part of our rib cage to our collarbone. Our collarbone is going to connect to our ears. And then from there, I get to dictate how far I want my arms to come out. So I'm going to draw my little noodle cylinder. Okay, so I have the top part of my arms, which is the edge of my collarbone. Now I can, within this space, I need my tube for my neck to be in here. Depends on how wide I want my neck to be. If I want my neck to be really wide, I would give this a really wide neck. If I need this to be a nice thin neck, like a cartoon character, I would just thin that out and then connect it to the edges. So we're going to have to cut it short for today, guys. I will be back on in maybe like an hour or so. I need to just get some work done, and I'm getting messages like crazy right now. So thank you guys so much for coming on here and checking out my stuff. Thank you for learning with me. Thank you for learning for a little bit, and I hope you guys actually learned a little bit. I'll continue on with arms on the next stream in about an hour or so, and then we will go on to the upper body, and we will segment this. And it'll be easier for when I upload them to YouTube too, because it'll be like segmented into individual parts and instead of like being all over the place. So thank you guys so much. I'll catch you guys in like about an hour or so, and then I'll see you guys then. All right, take care.